This episode of Gun Talk Hunt is all about your edged, it's about your edged cutlery in the field. Field use, Knives of Alaska, Mr. Charles Allen, all right here, right now.
Hey, I'm KJ, dedicated lifelong hunter here. If you got an interest in all things hunting, you're in the right spot. Whether chasing quail across the plains of Oklahoma or in pursuit of elk in the backcountry of British Columbia, you'll always find me on the hunt.
All right, this episode is brought to you by Range Ready Studios. All right, welcome in all you Gun Talk hunters. I'm your host, KJ, and today with me we've got Charles Allen. And what you're going to notice about this podcast is you're going to see activity in the background. You are going to hear some noise in the background. That's okay. We're around camp, and we're here at Trinity Oaks.
We're here at Trinity Oaks Foundation, Thumbtack Ranch in deep South Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, southeast.
Yeah, southeast Texas. Anyway, on an exotic hunt, hunting stenbuck, hunting axis deer, wild pigs, of course, whenever we can get them. And
they've been tougher to come by.
They are. Those rascals are primarily nocturnal, as most hunters know, and that's why your thermal stuff is so popular now with hog hunters.
Oh yeah.
But
I asked Charles to come on today because he is Knives of Alaska. He is Diamond Blade, and talking about your cutlery, we were talking about once that animal is on the ground, processing in the field. And I thought, I have a whole system that I've laid out, and Charles is really you changed my mind on
in what way?
Knives.
On what way?
In what way? Like, I used to be the guy who's like, oh, disposable blades, like that's the way to go. Like, they're sharp, they're easy, they're quick. And I found it's been the last couple of years, the blades just, they don't perform.
Well, they're they're thin, they're sharp, they're fragile.
Right.
And changing them out can get you cut.
Which is a problem. That's an issue.
And so there's a lot to be said for a high quality knife that you don't have to resharpen while you're doing the entire animal.
Right.
It's dark, it's raining, whatever. Let's get this animal done. Let's get him field dressed, get him properly taken care of. So we've got great table fare when we get back home.
Right.
That's one of the main reasons that we hunt.
Yeah.
And you have a good rifle, you have a good clothing.
Right.
Let's have a good knife out there that does the job.
I know. And that's we get a little complacent, and maybe it's like with today's society, it's a disposable society. And maybe there's something to be said about that in other instances, but when it comes to what you're field dressing your animal with and what you are taking care of your food with, it matters. And that's why your thought processes and your practices are changing my thought, my whole idea of what I had going into this year.
Well, like I said a minute ago, you need a good quality knife in the field. And it's not that hard to learn how to sharpen a knife, to keep it sharp. Now, take good care of it, like your other gear. Once you're out here in this environment, and you need to have good gear.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough for us to get out and maybe get into the field.
Right.
And once we get there, we want to have something that'll do the job, do it right, get that animal back to the house or the lodge or into the freezer in good shape, that you and your family will be proud of to serve.
Yeah. Well, give us an idea. Okay, so I guess we should start back at the beginning. And Knives of Alaska. My first knife of Alaska, it's the one with the gut hook and the big skin and belly on it.
Oh yeah, the light hunter. The light hunter.
That was my first Knives of Alaska, and I picked that thing out of the Cabela's catalog, like for Christmas one year, just hoping I'd get it. And lo and behold, I found it under the Christmas tree, and I thought, man, and it's been a workhorse the entire time.
Yeah, that knife made out of D2 steel, high quality, heat tempered, heat treated to the maximum ability of that steel, razor sharp when you get it, and you can keep it razor sharp. And it's an effective tool. That's what I make. We make tools for serious outdoorsmen, but we have a whole product line.
Right.
We have hunting knives. That's the way we started with a hunting line, because that's sort of my background as a wildlife biologist. I used to do a lot of necropsying of especially whitetails in a check station environment. You had to go through a lot of deer, a lot of animals in a hurry.
Right.
Sure wasn't any time to be messing around with your cutlery. You needed stuff that it was effective. And that was sort of the genesis of the beginning of the idea for Knives of Alaska. I'm like, I don't have exactly what I need. So I went to a custom knife maker and I said, hey, I need a heavy duty cutting tool that I can cut through bone, the sternum, the pelvic girdle, take the legs off, and I need something I can skin with at the same time. So that was the beginning of the brown bear Skinner cleaver. It has a rounded nose. It's a 1/4 inch thick of D2, and it can do all the above. And what happened was guys would say, hey, I'd like to have one of those. Well, after a while you go ding, ding, and
you start keeping a tally on
keep a tally on it. And once we started our operation in Alaska, our hunting and fishing lodge in Alaska, we did all of our field testing for all the new products in Alaska with the guides that work with me. And we were doing it on big brown bears and big bull moose, caribou, and 15, 20-pound salmon for our fishing line, our fillet knives. So what we would do is we'd take a prototype up for the season, give one to each of the guides, and they go, hey, this thing works great. Well, okay, that's a check. Or they go, hey, you've got a problem right here.
Okay.
We correct it. So by the time that knife gets to your viewers, it has been thoroughly tested.
Battle tested.
Everywhere, yeah. And that's how it started. And they go, well, and a lot of people will ask this question. You get a Knives of Alaska made in Denison, Texas. What's going on there? Well, if you know how much it takes to ship, how much money it takes to ship steel from here to Alaska, then make the product and then ship it back out, it would have put us out of the marketplace.
Absolutely.
So my hometown was Denison, Texas, and I came back there during the off season being when I'm not in Alaska, and that's where we started our plant operation, and that's where we are today.
That's awesome.
For both Knives of Alaska and the Diamond Blade line. That's right.
And that's a whole separate thing, and that's a whole nother bag of work. That's
a whole separate animal.
But what I'd like to do is let's jump into. I mean, you were a guide up in Alaska. So your work, how'd that come about, and what is it like being a guide in Alaska, a master guide?
You can only become a master guide after you've got 15 years of experience as a registered guide, and then you have to get, believe now, it's like you have to get 25 of your previous clients to give you a letter of recommendation to the state of Alaska. Anyway, I went through that years ago.
Okay.
What's it like? It was incredibly rewarding. The people that we interacted with, that we had as clients, some of the finest people in the world are hunters and fishermen.
Oh, yeah.
So my wife Jody and I started the Alaska Expedition Company in actually in '91.
Okay.
And we started Knives of Alaska at the same time. So we began both those operations.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta love it.
And running a ranch as well. So it's like, we had a pretty full plate. Yeah, we did. So I flew the planes up there for 28 years, and that's a whole different story. Flying bush planes in Alaska, but again, a rewarding career in Alaska. We sold our operation up there 3 years ago, and we're now concentrating on the Diamond Blade line, the Knives of Alaska line, and our ranch work.
Yeah. All right, we're going to jump in here with a real quick word from our sponsors, but when we come back, we're going to talk about Diamond Blade and the evolution of knives over the years from Knives of Alaska and Diamond Blade.
All right, Range Ready Studios. If you're looking to become a better shooter, And you're going to find out more like through the coming weeks that, you know what, if you prepare all year long, no matter how hard you prepare, some things happen. You better be prepared, and that starts by preparing your trigger finger. And you can do that all at Range Ready Studios. We offer a wide range of classes and to train you up for your next hunting season, your next self-defense encounter. Oh, hope it doesn't come to that. But if you are, you better be prepared, and you owe it to yourself and your family to get that way. So come take a class at Range Ready Studios. The new class schedule should be up. So the 2024 schedule is starting to fill up. Claim your spot at rangereadystudios.com.
All right, we're back with Charles Allen of Knives Alaska and Diamond Blade and a whole slew of other things, apparently. But let's talk about Diamond Blade.
Sure. Okay, Kevin.
When you were talking about, and I had briefly seen on websites, and I would get some ads for them, and I was like, man, what's this Diamond Blade? And I did not realize that it was associated at first with Knives of Alaska.
We build them under the same roof, okay, at the same plant, but it's a totally different animal.
Right.
We started back, our mission statement with Knives of Alaska was always finest quality outdoorsman's knives. So we were always searching for better steel, better production method. How are we going to put a better product in the field for the end user? Well, that led us to researching ultra hard material, okay? Because if a knife can be made harder without being brittle, then it's just a matter of physics at that point. Okay, it'll wear longer in the field, okay? So we began working with Brigham Young University and a couple of companies out in Provo, Utah, one named Mega Diamond, the other Mega Stir. Mega Diamond makes synthetic diamonds, and they make a product called PCBN. That's an acronym for, long name.
Here it comes.
Polycrystalline cubic boron nitride. It's a mouthful. But it's the tool that allows us to do the extreme forging process that creates the ultra fine grain structure of steel in the cutting edge of the Diamond Blade line. You know, forging has been going on for a long time. You know, forging probably started with some guy in a rock, you know, pounding on steel and brass. Then it evolved to a guy with a hammer, okay? And then it went to trip hammers. And now what we're doing is we have a very large mill that exerts tons and tons of pressure downward through a rotating tool, which is the PCBN tool. So we are doing a process called dynamic shearing of the ferrite grain structure, okay, the steel, okay? And so we're making these grain structures super fine. They are so fine that you can't see them with a regular 1000x microscope anymore. You have to go to an electron microscope. And what that allowed us to do, elevate hardness without elevating brittleness. Okay? And that is the holy grail with a knife maker. When that grain structure in the Diamond Blade line, when we can take it and get it that fine, we can thin the blade even more. Our blades in Diamond Blade, when they come out of the package for the user, they are as sharp as a razor blade. And we've proven that. We went through over 600 statistical tests with BYU in developing this process, and it took 6 years of research to do it. Okay, so what does that equate to? Longer service in the field, longer service on an animal. Certainly no need to be replacing blades, because that blade is razor sharp, and it's going to stay razor sharp animal after animal after animal.
And that's one thing that, again, going back to those little replaceable blades, you can't get through a whitetail with it.
Well, you saw what we did yesterday on the Stenbuck. We took this set of knives, which is Diamond Blade. We took these two knives right here.
Surgeon.
Okay, so this is what we call the Pinnacle 2. It's a scalpel-like shape, which allows us to, see if I can balance that without cutting myself. This allows us to make our initial cuts along the leg, up the belly, through the brisket area, without a lot of friction.
Right.
Okay. A larger knife can still do the job. But you're going to develop some friction in here. You can't be quite as precise in your initial cut as you can with this blade. But as soon as I make those initial cuts, as you saw me do yesterday, I put this knife up and I go to something like this, like the Surge, with a much larger skinning radius, okay? And what that allows you to do, you take that hide as you're working it, it gives you a longer stroke, okay?
And the real short strokes just...
That's right. Well, with this knife, if you're making real short strokes, you just don't have a lot of skinning belly like you do with this, okay? So when you're making that stroke there, you're getting a lot more service out of that blade, okay? So that's the purpose for carrying two knives in the field, and these are the only two knives that I ever carried in Alaska when we're hunting brown bear and moose. In the development stage, of course, we didn't have diamond blade yet. We were using Knives of Alaska, and Knives of Alaska, it's a high quality product. We're making them out of D2 440C, not 440A and B, which is a less quality steel, and a product called CPM S30V, which is a stainless with a high carbon content. And those are good quality knives in the Knives of Alaska line.
You guys have developed with diamond blade. That you're talking about some of the testing that goes into like steel and becoming qualified.
Right. We wanted to make sure, that's why it took us 6 years of research, Kevin, before we ever brought out diamond blade. We wanted to be sure that we had the quality product, wasn't going to chip out on people, it was going to service them longer, and it was just the research project. We had over 600 tests to do, and it just took a long time to get it right. You know, to get it right.
Well, when you're developing something and you want to bring it out, and it's got to be right before people will trust it.
Well, it's got to be right with Knives of Alaska and diamond blade.
That's true. That's a good point. I am talking with Charles Allen of Knives of Alaska and diamond blade, and if you're tuning into this, you are seeing movement in the background. We are on a media hunt at the Thumbtack Ranch and Trinity Oaks Foundation, and you've had a big hand in coming out here quite a bit, haven't you?
Well, I've been here 3 or 4 times, and Trinity Oaks Foundation, it's a great organization. I met Tom Snyder, Mike Snyder, the brothers that started this operation years ago, probably 15 years ago, and these guys are the real deal. They take disadvantaged youths, they take wounded warriors, they take terminally ill children, and just some of it just breaks your heart.
Oh, I can't imagine.
But there's never a fee for any of these people. They come here, they get a hunt, they get great service, they get product to take home with them, they get indoctrinated into the hunting world if that's one thing they want to do. They've got a lake, man-made lake right down here they do fishing on. So never a charge for them. It's a foundation, nonprofit.
It's a beautiful thing out here for sure.
It is a beautiful place to be. Deep South Texas, they've got exotic sand whitetails, and they take people on hunts that it's good to see them out in the outdoors.
Oh, absolutely it is. And we've got stuff going on in the background. We've got actually Diamond Blade and Knives of Alaska giving some demonstrations on how to best skin. What are a few of the common mistakes made by hunters in the field processing their animals? What do you think are a few of the common mistakes?
Well,
I sprung this on it.
Yeah, you really did. Ben, we hardly ever make any mistakes in the field.
Oh gosh, no. I've made a million of them.
not having the right tool.
Yeah.
Okay, not having the right equipment in the field, whether that's your personal clothing gear to where you begin to get hypothermia. We had some of that show up in Alaska. We'd have people come up there that didn't have the right gear, and we would essentially have to outfit them to keep them from getting hypothermia. But common mistakes, just having poor quality gear is probably one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Not sighting your rifle in correctly before you get to the field, making a bad shot on an animal, which is something
on this trip.
Well,
that was me on this trip, man. And
it happens.
It does.
It happens.
Yeah.
I
wasn't thinking anatomy. Like if I would have looked at how he was facing, like I would have seen. It's almost like you got to have a 3D image of that animal's vitals.
That's right. You
wherever
do.
he stands.
That's right. You do. You have to know right where the heart-lung area is, and you've got to be able to project that. And if the shot's not right, then we don't take the shot.
Right.
Then we don't take the shot.
Yeah. It still gets me. Charles, I'm not going to lie. It still gets me. But, it does happen, and we learn from it. And that's what we're out here doing. We're learning new techniques. So Knives of Alaska and Diamond Blade have a enormous, I really do feel like your product line has to be filled to the max.
Well, we have a full line of hunting blades. Mm-hmm. We have a full line of everyday carry folders.
Right. I saw
both lockback, automatics. Our automatics are just to die for. Yeah. Easy to carry. I've been carrying this little knife here. We call it the Fury, but they have a great safety on them to keep them safe in your pocket.
Okay.
But once you get used to a one-handed knife, it's just so easy to open, and it's like me on a ranch. If I'm laying open that bale of hay for my cattle, then I climb off the tractor and I just walk up there, grab that, and flip that blade and never have to open it.
Right.
But we have those kinds of knives as well.
Right.
So we've got a full line of folders, hunting blades, and also fillet knives for the fishermen.
Yeah.
In both companies.
Beautiful knives. And how does the guy go about? And this is the last time, because I don't know, we want to get over there, and I want to take part in of these animals and really kind of focusing in on honing our craft. How does a guy go about choosing the right knife? What are the questions he needs to be asking himself to select the right knife? Okay. So once again, we're back now to what am I going to be doing? If I'm going salmon fishing in Alaska or anywhere in the north, you might want to consider one of our fillet knives, the larger one called the coho. Okay.
If you're fishing for bass and panfish, crappie, then you would want the steel header, a little shorter blade, 6-inch blade. Everyday carry knives. That gets to your automatic. Do you want something small and more discreet in your pocket? Or do you want a larger folding hunting knife like we have? Hunting blades, we have a good selection there of drop points, of clip points, skinning knives.
Gut hooks. I mean,
we have the full line.
Yeah.
You sure do. Because you got different people that like different things.
Right.
And you can't just constrict yourself to thinking in one dimension, if you will.
Well, I love it. Well, Charles, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure.
Really appreciate it. Gun Talk Hunters, you know the drill. Keep those muzzles pointed in a safe direction and always be on the hunt.
To see all of Gun Talk's content, go to guntalk.com, guntalktv.com, or sign up for the Gun Talk newsletter.